Okay, we're going to kick off then. Just to reintroduce myself then, I'm Michael Conlon. I'm a transformation consultant here at XMA and partnering with Google for Education today and exploring some of the tools that surround the Google universe and the G Suite universe that we are traditionally used to. So I'll start off by presenting I'll take my picture off. I'll get rid of me. Nobody needs to see that. And then we'll go straight into presenting this Google slide deck. So this is a presentation called Let's Go Out with Google for Education and XMA. We'll talk about why it's called Out in just a second. What we want to do is to explore some of the tools that surround G Suite. I've called them the 7 wonders of the world, and as a teacher myself, I spent a lot of time using these kind of tools just to give me a bit more breadth in what I was trying to deliver to our young people. Just keep me inspired, keep me interested. I obviously like playing around with technology, and these tools just made such a difference in my classroom teaching. It's great to be here with Google for Education and Kerry, who you'll hear from in just a second. And I think it's come at a perfect time for us, really. We're seeing so much more adoption of the Chrome platform across the UK just now, with lots more multi-academy trusts, local authorities and government investments, which are really taking off. And the future looks very bright for teachers and learners once they get their tools and their hands on these tools. So I'm going to start off by letting Kerry give us a little of an update on G Suite and Google for Education. So I'm going to come out of this presentation just like this, and then I'll move over to Kerry, who's left us a little video.
Hello everyone, my name's Kiri Gooch and I am the National Accounts Manager in the Google for Education team. Today I'm going to talk to you about some of the resources that are available to you in terms of using G Suite and Chromebooks, and I know that Michael's going to take over and start to talk about the wider things and going out with Google for Education. Great name, Michael. So today, if you are brand new to G Suite for Education, you may not already be aware that we have a free productivity suite that's available for schools across the whole world. So with this, you get access to things like Google Docs and Classroom, Google Meet, which we're seeing used heavily right now for distance learning. And the reason that they are so popular is because teachers always tell us that they're really intuitive and easy to use. You can work in collaboration on in live real time because you're working in the cloud, and everything we build at Google is secure by design. So if you are interested in, and if you're brand new to the tools, this Teach From Home website is probably the best place to start because it's kind of your one-stop shop for small digestible trainings on how to get up and running with setting up Google Meet, for example, or setting up a Google Classroom to set work for your students. In addition to that, we have lots and lots of resources built around G Suite for Education to support teachers, not just through distance learning, but at any time of the year for any type of learning environment. So firstly, I'd just like to point out the blog that we have, which is releasing new updates about new features that are coming to our tools, and also tips and tricks on how you might use the tools specifically right now for distance learning, but also just best practices for delivering content online using the tools. We also have something called the Teacher Centre. Now, this is where you can go and do your certifications, such as your Level 1 educator and Level 2 educator. And if you're feeling really adventurous, maybe becoming a Google certified trainer. But you can also find on here specific courses around distance learning, but also some product guides around some of the tools, such as Google Classroom, and actually Expeditions is on there. And I know Michael's going to talk to that a little bit more later on. And we also have been doing a UK webinar series, which you can go and watch all of the pre-recordings of, and we are going to be releasing these monthly going forward. But basically, we take a real deep dive into some of the tools, such as Jamboard, such as Google Docs, Google Forms. So you can go and find those at bit.ly/GFE UK webinars. Now, again, if you are brand new to G Suite for Education, you don't actually have an account in your school yet. As I've said already, it is a free productivity suite, but you can also get yourself up and running for free, which is funded by the Department for Education. So there's currently an opportunity for you to get this done, and XMA are a partner as part of this program. And basically, you just need to go over to covid19.thekeysupport.com and you can find out how you can kick off that process. And I also just wanted to point out on a project that we're working really closely with XMA on is providing cloud-ready licenses for schools across London. So if you're an LGFL school, you actually have 120 free licenses for secondary schools and 30 free licenses for primary and special schools. And you can go and claim those at go.neverwhere/LGFL. And we can work with you and support you on that in partnership with XMA. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Michael, who's going to be showing us some tools where we can really get our students thinking outside of the classroom, outside of their bedroom, outside of their kitchen, wherever they're working right now, with things like Google Earth and Google Expeditions. And with that, I'll pass over to you, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully you can all see that. So let's get started then. I want to start off with Google Earth, but I'll just get to Google Earth just at the beginning. So one of the reasons why I want to work on this webinar is just because I know that G Suite is a real backbone for educators in terms of their class workflow and workload too. So now staff are looking to broaden the kind of experiences they can deliver to students and distribute through Google Classroom. And they know that technology can do lots of amazing things, but in many cases, they don't know what they don't know, and and trust me, when they see things that we're going to show you ahead in the next 7 wonders, some of you are going to be sitting behind your screen going, "Shut up, you're kidding me, that's a thing." Honestly, I've seen this happen every time I've done this in face-to-face sessions, and I'm hoping that everyone here will be able to take away something with them to try and play around with. You'd be mad really not to. And we've called it out, as Kerry said, because we know people are stuck inside, but it doesn't change people's curiosity about the world and all the things in it, and how to get out of these 4 walls and away and around the world to see the kind of things that are out there and just explore my outer self or my inner self, if you like. And it's really important we leverage the power of technology at this moment in time to tap into young people's curiosity and let them explore and find their own routes through knowledge. Maybe creating things that didn't exist before, and certainly for teachers, the ability to create new resources and new assets which are going to engage their students in a whole new way. So I'm going to start off with Google Earth. Here we go. Let's do something really simple with Google Earth. Google Earth's nice and straightforward. We have the globe. We've got the entire globe all mapped out by satellite. In the bottom right-hand corner, we've got some tools to help us move around planet Earth, which is great. And then on the left-hand side, we've got some of the key tools that I'm going to be exploring just over the next 10 minutes. So start off with a basic search tool. So if I type in search, where do you want to go? So let me think. I want to go to Rio de Janeiro. Now I know that I'm probably never going to get to Rio de Janeiro. I don't like flying particularly, to be honest. So if I wanted to, that's the wrong one, Michael. You wanted to go to the right place. That's not the state of Rio de Janeiro. It's Rio de Janeiro. There we go. And the great thing about this is I can zoom into any part of this just using, if you've got a mouse, it'll just be a particular scroll wheel, or you can use the arrows in the bottom right-hand corner. And I can zoom in really, really closely into this city and to discover what it's all about. And I can even move to 3D. If I click on the 3D tool, you can see a whole cityscape fly up right in front of your eyes. And then I can pull out as far as I want to. Let's go somewhere else. Let's go to my favourite city in the world. It's not Rio de Janeiro. It just happens to be Glasgow, where I was born and raised. And it'll fly out of Rio. You'll see there's a little information card on the right-hand side. I can click on that information card and it will show me some more information about Glasgow. But let me just zoom in to the city centre, and in particular to a place called George Square. Now, George Square is a famous meeting place in the centre of Glasgow. Really, really popular part of the city. Again, I'll jump to 3D and you can see how amazing this city looks up front and why I love it so much. You'll see in the building at the top there, it says people make Glasgow, and that's absolutely correct. People do make Glasgow, and we can zoom right in here into the city square if we want to, but I can go back to the 2D view, which I'm going to do in just a second. If I click there, It'll go back to that 2D view, and then it can pan out and zoom out again. And the reason why I've chosen George Square is because I want to show you one of the tools available to you in Google Earth. It's the measurement tool, a measure distance and area. So think about any numeracy work you're doing with your students. I'm going to click on the corner of George Square here, and then here. And you can see what it's doing. It's going to calculate the perimeter of George Square. And then when I close the circle here, when I close the shape, it's going to give me the area. And we can talk to students about accuracy, estimation, rounding, but this is a real life measurement and a real life context. And you can do these similar things with students, take them on Google Earth to their own hometown, to their own places that they know and love, and do this exercise here. And then you can do all sorts of things with it, you know, like how many football stadiums fit into this space, how long is it going to take me to walk around the perimeter of George Square if I go X speed, etc., etc. Really powerful tool within numeracy. Underneath the search tool, we've got the Voyager tool. And what the Voyager tool is trying to do for you is something very, very simple. It's giving you curated experiences, guided tours, games, and quizzes. So for example, if I want to go to some of the culture experiences in Voyager and scroll down, you can see the broad range of possibilities that are there. I can go to real locations if I want to, the Mayan ruins, going for lunch. Let's just pick one of them, building the Eiffel Tower. Let's click on that. And it's a little curated experience that will take us first of all to the Eiffel Tower itself in Paris. And again, we can zoom in and get up close and personal with this particular monument. If you've ever been to Paris, you know how amazing it is. But look at the extra information it's giving you there about the height and how it was built. And it's going to take me through the 7 stages of building the Eiffel Tower, how the first level was completed with photographs and images for you to look at. Second level, again with images. So this Voyager tool that exists is incredibly powerful and really inspires you to do lots of different things. There are games that you can play. If you've got younger learners, one of the nice ones scrolling down here is one called Where in Google Earth is Carmen Sandiego. It's one of my favorites. I used to play this game when I was a boy too. It's just fantastic. So Voyager is something I would urge you to explore. Underneath Voyager tool, we have I'm Feeling Lucky. And what Google have done is they've curated thousands of different places across the world that it thinks you might be quite interested in finding out a bit more about. And it's thrown a dice, take me somewhere that I've never been before. And here we have the Casa de Campo Resort and Villas. You know, it's different every time. So you might want to find out a little bit more about that place. And we can do that. You can see there's a golf course there for sure. But if I click on the information card, it'll give me information about the resort, where it is in the map, and then I can explore further information about it. But where I find Google Earth incredibly powerful is in this tool here called Projects. Let me just pull out Projects. Okay, so I'm going to do the same project again. I'm going to click on a new project, and I'm going to create that project in my Google Drive, and I'm going to call it Phineas Fogg. So I've been doing this for a piece of literacy work. We've been reading the book Around the World in 80 Days. And we're going to follow the steps of Phineas and where he went on his trip around the world. So the first thing I have to do is take my starting place. I click on New Feature, and I'm going to search to add a place. And that place, the first place he started was London. I'm going to click on London, UK. And you'll notice in that information card that we have here, there's an option to add to project. London's a really well catalogued and digitized city in Google Earth. You've got the chance, have a go and look at it. But the option I've got here is to add to project. So I'm going to add London to my Phineas Fogg project. Click on Save. Where's the next feature? Where did he go next? The next place he went was Paris, where we've just been, of course, when we went to see the Eiffel Tower. So now in Paris, I can add that to my project, which is great. Okay, doke. So Paris can go in there, but I can edit this place. So rather than just using the information that Google has provided me with in order to do this, I'm going to replace the information that Google have given, and I'm going to create my own content and context. So the title is still going to be Paris. I can add in some information here, information about localities. If I can spell localities. And you can add as much text as you want in there. And then I can add some of my own pictures. So I can do a straightforward image search. So I might well go to the Louvre. If you can find a picture of the Louvre, there we go. I'm going to add that to my picture sequence for this particular part of my tour of Phineas Fogg trip. And you'll have seen there's a YouTube site there too, so you can install videos there too. So for example, if I was wanting to take a Paris walk, what would that look like? Well, here's a Paris walking tour. I can add that video to that trip so you get a sense of what it's like to go around Paris. Okay. So that's my second stop, and you can add all the different stops that he had in order to get to Singapore. I think he was going next, and he was having to go to the Suez Canal. When you present that tour, if you like, down the bottom left-hand side corner, you can see the table of contents. It's taking you to London, and then you have the information card about London, but then there's also points of interest about London. So maybe we could go to the British Museum. We just need to click on the little paper aeroplane there, and it'll fly down into the British Museum. So I can explore the world that Phineas is in really in much more depth and a much more rich experience and immersive experience. When I go to the next stage, when I go to Paris, all the way over here, I will see the information that I've written for my students for them to read, because it might be in the context of this particular book, for example. And I've got the picture of the Louvre, and then I've got the video that I want, and I can just play the video and it'll play in the full size of the screen. And I can take a walking tour around where that particular video is unavailable. So there's a great opportunity to build a really, really rich resource for you and your students. And once you've done it, you can keep it forever, because you can share that particular project. You can share it with people by typing in their names. It could be another teacher to share that resource with, or you can get the link for that particular tour and project. So I'm going to change this so it's not just XMA people that can access this particular project, but anyone with the link. I'm going to do that. I can copy the link, and then I would paste that into my Google Classroom, and that means all of my students will be able to go to Google Earth and follow that particular project. And I'm leading the learning in a completely different way than I've done before. So Google Earth, I mean, people get bored of me rapping on about it all the time, but you can get lost in Google Earth. And I don't mean that figuratively. I mean, you can really get absorbed in the kind of things you can do there. And for young students, getting out of the house and seeing a part of the world, it's really refreshing. I'm now going to move over to Google Expeditions. Now, Google Expeditions is an augmented reality and virtual reality platform that exists on Google devices and iOS devices and Chrome. Download the application, and some of the things you're going to see are amazing. I'm always concerned about how do I model my ideas for my students, and what tools are out there to help me model some of the things I'm asking them to think about deeply. How can I show them different ways of viewing it? I'm not a great drawer, for example, so when I used to draw on the board, the students used to say, Mr. Conlon, what is that supposed to be? So having technology available to me is incredibly important. So it's augmented reality and virtual reality. You might want to use Google Cardboard if you've got phones that people can get that immersive VR experience. But I use a lot of augmented reality in my lessons, and the best way to show you it, I guess, is just to show you. So I've got a little video here. I'll present again. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. Here we go. So this is my garden. So this is the app. This is what the application looks like. It gives you AR and VR experiences from a whole range of different topics: landscape, science, the environment. the world today, all of those sorts of things. So many interesting things to look at. If you've got a particular lesson topic that you want to look at in science, for example, there's bound to be an experience in here that you can use. I've been using it lately for my 5-year-old boy, actually, while we've been stuck at home. He's very big into dinosaurs at the moment, so I'm going to show you the dinosaur augmented reality tour. You have to download it to the device, and then you view it in augmented reality. And so here we are in my garden. Hopefully I'll turn the volume down so you can't hear the... And so there we have a T-Rex on my grass. It's a very small T-Rex, but I can go in and I can pull that up. Oh my goodness, look at the size of that. Just imagine being able to pull that up in the classroom, and you can walk around it and get close to it and really inspire the imagination of your students. Fantastic, isn't it? And then what I said to him was, well, actually, Thomas, it would probably be bigger than that. And so we made it bigger than that. We got my fingers on the object and then just pull it up to the size that I wanted it to be. And go absolutely massive. And that would give students the scale of that particular monster, that particular dinosaur. So he was really inspired by that, really amazed. There was other dinosaurs you can look at. But then perhaps I was modelling tectonic plates and what the inside of planet Earth looks like, for example. Of course, you can get an image like this in your textbooks, and that's great. And you're not going to use it every single period, this kind of technology. But what you are going to do is take the opportunity to show them the world in a new way. A bit more immersive, can be a bit more detailed, and it can really help with that modelling and utilising their imagination. Children are such visual learners at the moment for a whole host of reasons. So what's next? Okay. So I've done Google Expeditions. I now want to move on to Tour Creator. Tour Creator is really, really straightforward. So think about all the data that's out there. That's billions of street views, 3D maps, etc. Wouldn't it be great if we could take those assets and use them to build my own 3D tour? Wouldn't that be great? Well, yes, it would, because this particular tool is going to allow you to do that. Here's how it works. Take some 360-degree photographs. Now, if you've got a 360-degree camera, that's fantastic. Well done, you. But you can also get apps on some people's phones and tablets that will allow you to create your own 360 panorama. But you can also pull 360-degree photos from the kind of street view that you can do on Google Earth and Google Maps. You can pull those out. Then you add points of interest to that 360-degree view. Then you can add some information to that, and then an image overlay to go along with that text and information that you're giving them. And then it's really, really easy to share that project, that tour, for your students or for others to follow. So let me just show you what I did earlier on with some students. So my students wanted to do some design work for the back of a jacket. So they wanted to have inspiration, but what could you put on the back of a denim jacket kind of design? It's a product design exercise. And so what we did was we took them on, get rid of that. We took them on this tour that I built called New York Design Inspirations. And this is how it's set up. This is the design mode of Tour Creator. I've split it up into 3 sections: Theatreland, Central Park, and Skyscrapers. Let's go into Theatreland then. And what I've done is I've taken a 360-degree panorama of Times Square. And in Times Square, I've added these extra points of interest. And when I click on that, you'll see a little image pops up. So I've given the students some text to read. I've given them an image overlay, which might give them more information or a close-up of some of the things that's going on there. And I can adjust the size of this. You know, if I think that's too big, I can shrink it and make it bigger, etc. So I can add all the information that I want across this 360-degree image. As I said, I can resize that. So this particular piece of information is about George M. Cohan in Times Square and the music he built and created over his life. I put a link to a YouTube video to encourage them to go somewhere else for information. In the skyscraper section, I've gone to the 9/11 memorial, and in there I've put in some information about the memory pools. And again, if that's too big, I can resize that image and reposition it on the screen, so when a student comes across it, they've got the information on the right hand side for them to use. And then the way you would add a scene is you can perhaps go into Street View, and I'm going to look for Brooklyn Heights in the USA, Brooklyn, another part of New York, and there is a scene, 360-degree camera angle that I can then add information to. So I'm going to choose that from that starting point, add scene, and then I can add, look at Brooklyn as the title. I can add a point of interest, and this is going to be all about, I guess, sandstone buildings, which is where I probably want to move it around to here. So it gives students some information about sandstone buildings. I can add a picture to that particular space, to that particular point of interest, or I can add a voice narration. So if I've created an audio file already, I can record that and upload it into that particular point of interest so they hear my voice and they hear the way I speak, and that's a bit more comforting sometimes than just a robotic person that they've never heard of before. So there's an opportunity here with Tour Creator to really create something from scratch that's an asset that you've built to make your lessons more engaging. But if you look at Tour Creator and its templates section, there's already some pre-built assets. So for example, there's an asset all about the eyes. So that's really great, rich 360-degree content that you can edit for yourself. There's one on viruses, for example, which is particularly rich and prevalent at the moment. Lots of people looking to find out more information about that. But if I look at the one I've been working on, the solar system, so you're a science teacher, you're going to be doing the solar system at some point in the year, and there's a whole pre-built solution here for you with points of interest. So I can go on a 360-degree panorama around the planets. I can look at planets of the solar system like this, and I can add the content. I can delete any content that's in there and add my own. So let me look for planet Earth. I can add a picture in there. I can add some text all about the planet Earth, explaining it in the way I would explain it to my students and not the way that Google would want me to do it. So you get a chance to really fine tune a resource like this. It's giving you a nice 360-degree model, which would be very difficult for you to build yourself, let's face it. And so I think you should take the opportunity with something like Tour Creator to create something brand new in a whole new way that you've never done before. Okay, moving on. We're doing really, really well for time. So the next one is Google Arts and Culture. Now, there's a real, what can I say? It's an embarrassment of riches. I could spend all day here. And I wonder how many school trips to museums have been missed this past little while. I find museums absolutely fascinating, and the rich combination of art and culture really appeals to me. Art's a particularly subjective one, and if you take pupils to art exhibitions, as I've done, it really lets them learn what they like and what they don't like, and they have a response. It doesn't really matter what the response is, they respond to art and about how it makes them feel. I remember taking a group of kids to a Salvador Dali exhibition, and some of the kids were walking around and saying, "I don't get it, it's rubbish." And that's okay, they were responding to how they were thinking, they didn't understand. But once we started exploring as a group and doing a bit of coaching with them, helping them to articulate why they didn't like it or how it made them feel, it really they did find it a really much richer experience. And art and culture, like travel, really broaden the mind. So here you've got a tool which is so rich and so deep. I can't possibly go into the depth of this in this particular session. I could probably do about 2 hours with this, but anyway. let's just scroll through it just now. So they've got all these little different projects you can go on. You can fly through the fort ruins in augmented reality. You can explore the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. You could strike a pose like an art exhibit. But here's the bread and butter. Over 2,000 museums around the world that you can visit with your students. 2,000, it's unbelievable. The Van Gogh Museum, the National Gallery of Art in Washington, museums from all over the world that host some of the most amazing artworks you can possibly find. I'm going to take you to the Mauritshuis Museum in the Netherlands, where one of my favourite paintings exists. You'll notice, just as a little clue, there's a little street view icon here, and that's exactly what you think it is. You can actually physically go into the museum building and walk around it. It's unbelievable. And I want to start off by looking at The Girl with the Pale Earring, which is one of my favourite paintings ever for some weird reason. There's lots of different online exhibits within this particular museum, nicely curated walkthroughs about how the artists developed the painting, or what historically was going on behind the scenes. But let's just jump straight to the painting itself. So if I go to The Girl with the Pale Earring, I can zoom in on that painting. Really nice. Up in the top right hand corner, I'm hoping you'll see the little zoom function, and the zoom function allows me to do exactly what it says in the tin and zoom in. And let's just look at how close we can get to this painting, and then we can move around the painting. That is unbelievable. And if you look really interestingly, The Girl with the Pale Earring is a very famous painting. Let me just zoom out a little bit here. There's a pearl earring itself, and in actual fact, that pearl earring is only made of 2 strokes of paint, 2 strokes of white paint. And that's enough of a suggestion for our brains to fill the rest of it in, which I find so fascinating. And if you think about how close you can get to this painting, you're never going to get that close in real life. And in fact, if I zoom out of here and I view this picture in Street View, because I've got the option to do that down here, here I am in the actual museum. I can zoom in a little bit. See, if I zoom out, that's how far you have to stand back behind that painting. You're not getting any closer. So the fact that they've taken a digital print of that particular image, you're getting right up and close to art and how it was constructed and how it was created. If you go and look at some of the Van Gogh paintings, for example, you'll see the actual thickness of the paint on the page. Now, we could have gone, you know, if we go back to Street View for that particular museum, we can walk around it like you would walk around any other museum. Let's go over here. That's a nice piece of art, isn't it? Yeah, let's go through to this room, see what's going on in here. So even if you've never been to this museum before, you know what it looks like inside. And you can see the paintings that exist there, and you might want to find out more information about them. Unbelievable. 2,000 museums right from the get-go. If you click on the little drop down 3 arrows there, you'll see there's many more features, different collections, themes. You can go and choose by artist, art movements, mediums. But there is a whole host of other nice little tricks, bits and bobs in it. This song scrolls down forever. There's a tool on your mobile device you can use to take a picture of yourself or a landscape and get it transformed into a picture in the style of a particular art movement. Or, you know, if it was Munch and it was like the Scream, you can get a picture of yourself looking as if you were painted in that kind of style. And then there's the Take a Selfie tool within Google Arts and Culture app. If you take a picture of yourself, it will try and find, using artificial intelligence and machine learning, an image that looks similar to you. And our good friend Kiri, who you met earlier, was kind enough to do this exercise, and this is what she looked like. She was quite happy with the first one. She thought, oh, that's reasonable, you know, okay, very good. Wasn't so happy about the second one that was chosen for her. But it's a great piece of fun and a great way of introducing students to art and getting them engaged in what it is you're trying to achieve. So this goes on forever and ever and ever, and it's curated so well, and it's added to all the time and refreshed all the time. So, you know, the whole thing about the moon landing, you know, and around the world, little projects you can walk through, content that you don't have to create because it's already there for you. in ways that you never thought possible. So please go have a look at Google Arts and Culture, you'll not regret it. Okay, I'm now moving on to Google Experiments. Now, experimenting is really good. Experimenting is important, plays such an important part of learning and invention too. And there's so many ways and so many solutions that we have in the world just now that were built by people, you know, faffing around and playing around and experimenting. And Google have got this really, really rich habit of just playing around and trying stuff and see what happens. So when you go to the Experiments with Google website, you'll be introduced to some experiments that are all around learning, and that's great. But if you scroll further down, you can get in a bit more depth and around some experiments around digital well-being. And then my favorite ones, which are start with one, which they've tried to find a solution for maybe one person, and then to try to see how that could be built out for other members in the community. And some really inspiring stories I would urge you to go and watch there. But let's look at some of the experiments that exist in this collection, the Experiments for Learning. I'm going to start off with Chrome Music Lab. So I'm going to start that experiment. And here is a whole system, a whole collection of, and I'll turn the volume up maybe so you can hear some of it. Here's a whole collection of different tools for you to use in order to create music in different ways. I'm not particularly musical or good with instruments, and many students feel the same, but they can still noodle and play around with music in ways that maybe it isn't even an instrument. So let's have a little play with this particular experiment called Kandinsky. I'm hoping you'll be able to hear it. All you have to do essentially is to draw, and you can draw little shapes like this, and little noodles, lines, triangles, squares, swirls, another circle again, and then play back. What a fascinating way of creating something from scratch. Similarly, the song maker is a very popular one with lots of students. All you do is you choose some coloured blocks. Play and fun are really important. Let's choose a different instrument. Go for drums. Hellish, but that's how I would start with my effort. But when you start then thinking about notes and you start talking to students about melody and beats and rhythm, this is a new way in, isn't it? It's a new way in, especially if you're in a school that doesn't have a lot of instruments kicking about. This is a really interesting way of going about that and finding out some more. Down here we have a little artificial intelligence experiment, which I love. And it's using neural networks to recognize doodles. It's using machine learning and artificial intelligence to discover what a drawing is. It's going to ask you to draw something, and then the system's going to guess. So can you draw a windmill? Okay, I'll draw a windmill. Let's give it a go. And I'll give it
I see triangle. I see marker or crayon. Oh, I know, it's windmill.
Oh, got it. Strawberry. Okay, that's a strawberry.
I see circle or moon or potato or apple. Oh, I know, it's strawberry.
Wow, very good. An angel. Okay, there's a little head.
I see circle or blueberry. Oh, I know, it's angel.
Oh, wow, wait a minute. Megaphone. Okay, here we go.
I see seesaw or triangle or banner or shoe. I see bread. Oh, I know, it's megaphone.
Wow, necklace.
I see animal migration. I have no clue what you're drawing. I see camouflage.
It's a necklace. What are you talking about?
Oh, I know, it's necklace.
Thank you very much. And then a duck. Well, I better get this right.
I see string bean or line or river or arrow. I see mustache. Oh, I know, it's duck.
So what it's done is it's discovered, it's found out the 6 objects I've drawn. How did it do that? Let me figure out how it knew that this was a duck. Well, what it did was it looked through other drawings of ducks that other people have done and tried to discover which one it could possibly be. So it's looking at all the possible drawings that you've done, if you've used it a few times, and other people have done to come up with a solution. And this is a really, as a computing scientist myself, this is a really interesting way into discussing these topics about pattern recognition, about machine learning. Well worth a play around with. So please go and just play with these tools. There's lots of fun to be had. They're another journey for your students to take in and around the Google universe. You can send out the link to this site on Google Classroom, ask some students to do a screen recording, maybe use Screencastify if they've got a Chromebook, and just share that with the rest of the class. Okay, we're now moving on again. We're now moving on to, let's have a look. We said we'd do Google Experiments. Oh, we're good. We're now on to CSFirst. So CSFirst is a computing science curriculum, and it says, exactly what it says there, makes coding easy to teach and fun to learn. Now, I'm a computing scientist, so I'm maybe particularly biased, but this is such a great introduction for students into the world of computing science. It is for ages 9 to 14, you can use it in any setting. And one of the things I really like about it is it's not really focused on here's all the buttons you have to use to code, or here's the words you have to know. It really focuses on the problems you have to solve. So we can see the entire curriculum that's built from this. As a teacher, you've got all the resources you need. That's guides, that's videos. Each one of the tasks is introductory or intermediate or advanced, and you get all the results built into the package. It focuses on problems to solve, and I really like this. So if I find creating your own Google logo is a project we can do, where students get the chance to bring their Google logo to life. So there's a bit of animation tools built into this using coding. So create your own Google logo. I can want to do that. I'm going to start that project. And I'll go to the starter project. There's a video there to show you exactly what it is you're going to be trying to achieve. And then it uses a programming language called Scratch, which is entirely free. It's one of the most powerful programming languages across the world. So intuitive to use, especially since you've got these blocks of code to use to solve your problems. Over on the right-hand side, I get to see what the program that I'm about to write is actually doing. And the objects that are on the screen there, I have some control over. So for instance, that G for Google, I can change its costume or what it looks like to this if I wanted to. I can change the O, let's get rid of these. I can change the O to perhaps this particular little guy. So I've got different costumes for each one of my objects. And now what I have to tell the computer is what behaviors do I want these objects to have. And so I'm going to go to a particular event. So when the green flag has been clicked, what I would like to happen is that I'm going to do something 10 times. What is it I'm going to do 10 times? I'm going to change the X coordinate by 10. Then I'm going to duplicate that block, stick it underneath, and then I'm going to change the X coordinate by -10. So imagine you were trying to do a lesson on coordinates. Here's an entirely new way of delivering that. So what happens is when I press the green flag, the G does that. Now let's make the little O do something different too. So I'm going to duplicate this entire block, and I'm going to take it and drop it onto my O. There it is. Let's make sure that one has been thrown away. So for my little O, I'm not going to change X. I'm going to get rid of the X part, and I'm going to change Y by 10, and then by -10. So what will happen is when the green flag has been clicked, this object will exhibit a particular behavior, and then this object will, deliver a particular behavior. So let me press the green flag. So this is the very basics of animation, isn't it? And we can have the students do that for all the letters and maybe design their own shapes of what they want the O and the G and the L and the E to look like. And you can go as deep and as far with this project as you like, adding sounds and all sorts of things. And I find students get really immersed in this because they don't have to learn how to have lots of skills with typing and coding. What they need to have is just enthusiasm, because these little Lego blocks, if you like, just snap together and you can achieve very, very quickly. When I started programming back in the 80s, you had to type everything in. And if you were a slow typer, you just lost the interest and the will to live, to be honest. But please go and have a look at Google CSFirst. You'll not be disappointed. Fully resourced, completely free for you and your students. Finally, I'm going to finish off with something called We Internet Legends. We all have to take a really focused stance on internet safety and making sure our young people are prepared to engage with the world of the internet. And Google have got this really nice program in and around supporting that particular area. It's fully resourced. Again, it's completely free. It's a pack of resources for you and your students that focuses on 5 fundamentals. Sharing and the issues that are around sharing online and sharing content online and sharing messages, what's okay, what's not okay, that's called Be Internet Sharp. Be Internet Alert is all about, is what you see on the internet real? Is it, is it valuable? Is it valid? How can you tell the difference? We've then got Internet Secure. So do you understand the power of passwords and the fact that passwords are the main gate with which you can protect yourself with? It's so important to understand that. Then there's about respecting each other and their behaviours towards each other online, which are critical, especially with the rise in mental health issues and young people that I know that we're all concerned about. We really need to take a stance of being kind to each other online. And then finally, about how do young people articulate and talk about the things that concern them online? Because it can often be embarrassing. They might feel they've made a mistake they didn't want to make. So there needs to be a forum through which they can talk to a trusted adult about their concerns. So as a teacher, what have you got? You've got a resource park, and then you've got this game called Interland. It's a great game to play. So let's have a look at the resources that you get as a teacher. So here we have the 5 particular aspects. It's for years 3 and 4, ages 7 till 9, and ages 9 till 11. That's what this is aimed at. And it's a full package. There's a letter here that you can send to parents to explain to them what it is you're trying to achieve with this particular piece of work, and to get their support and to show them some resources they could use to support that at home. And so what you have is a range of different activities that take place, and then young people finish that section by having a game on the Interland game, which is I'll show you in just a second. So for all 4 sections, you can look at the Interland resources and well as activities, and then each lesson plan is built here. Summary of the lesson, what the objectives, what the outcomes are, what the activities are going to be, the vocabulary that they're going to use through that section. Here's a session that lasts 10 minutes, summarising. It's all there for you. You don't really have to do very much apart from just pick it up and run and discuss with your fellow teachers in your school about what you might want to add or you might want to take away. If we look back at the little Interland, let's get back up to the top. Let's explore Interland. I'm a gamer, so I love this. This 3D environment is really important. That kids are engaged with the kind of games that they play. They're great arbiters of what's good quality and what's not, and they very rarely accept things which are not of a high enough quality for their standards. So here we have a nice 3D environment with a character that we can move around, tackling each one of those particular issues that are in the package about being kind, about respecting each other, about being secure. So let's go. What land is it going to take me to first? It's going to take me to the reality river, checking that information is real. And you just do that, you play the game, and what you do is you follow the instructions on the screen in order to achieve the goal and develop the understanding that you need to have in order to stay safe online. So there's a little bit of narration at the beginning. Wow, let's see if I get some of these right. Here's hoping. So you want to avoid getting into trouble with this guy here who's going to try and give you some information. What are you going to do? Let's explore the answers. delete it and forget it. Should we try that? Nope, that's absolutely the wrong answer. It's good to recognise a scam, but even better to report it, because if it's not reported, it still stays out there. And so that takes us, we go through the game in this kind of style, raking achievements and badges and things like that. A really supportive program that I would urge you all to look at. So there we have it then. We have our 7 wonders of the Google universe. I'm hoping that at least in one of them, you've managed to take something away that you'd use for yourself and your students. Let me look at some of the questions, if we've got any questions out there. We're talking about online communities. So there's some stuff there about business studies, information, 16 plus. Okay, so if you think about business studies, you know, think about the kind of tours you could build in Tour Creator to take them to places. One of the nice things I saw was business studies, you know, planning an event, something of that nature. For example, if you think about Race Across the World that exists on the television, I don't know if you've seen that program. How could we encourage young people to do a tour of the world or to do a race against the world, get from London to Singapore? You don't have access to a mobile phone, and you're not allowed to fly, so how are you going to get there? Where are you going to visit? Can you capture some of the images and maybe take some videos of the places you'll visit on Google Earth? Perhaps as a teacher, you might want to build that as a tour. Maybe you're going to go to the arts and culture to maybe see some of the museums that exist in that particular space and place. It's just about using your imagination, really, isn't it? It's about thinking carefully about how you can leverage the power of each one of these particular applications for your subject. I know a teacher I worked with was using football stadiums around the world on Google Earth in order to engage his students with some numeracy work, because they were trying to do PE and how can I build numeracy into PE. And obviously you've got time, distance, all those sorts of things. But there was a way of doing things like measuring pitches, you know, and how long it's going to take you to get from the train station to the stadium, if this is a train station. Lots of great ideas, just use your imagination. I've really enjoyed spending some time with you this afternoon. I hope that you've all had something you can take away from today's session, and you and your students managed to get out of your house and maybe explore the world a little bit further and deeper. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Take care.